Is the King James wrong about death and hell? After all I've said about the new Bibles removing the word hell and some of the words about hell, I was amazed to find a new accusation, at least to me. Some people are teaching that the King James is dangerous because the times it doesn't translate the Hebrew Sheol or the Greek Hades as hell, and that the cultists just love to use the King James because of this supposed mistake. Is it true? Is the King James Bible a gold mine for groups that don't believe in hell? What's the real story? Do you want to know? Hi, I'm David Daniels from Chick Publications. First, I actually heard a scholarly guy claim, quote, Hades is not the grave. No Greek or Hebrew scholar would say that it is. Okay, the accusation that the King James translates Hades as grave all over the place is just wrong. Hades only appears in the New Testament 11 times. And 10 times of the 11, it's translated hell. Just one time it is translated grave. Do you know when that is? 1 Corinthians 15:55. O death, where is thy sting? O grave, where is thy victory? This is not talking about rescuing people from punishment in hell, is it? Of course not. Hebrews 9:27 says, and it is appointed unto men once to die, but after this the judgment. So everyone will be judged after they die. They don't get rescued out of the torments of hell. For the unforgiven, it's hell, then judgment, then the lake of fire. Out of the frying pan and into the lake of fire. So it's talking about the afterlife, but it's not talking about the torments of hell. So how do we translate it? It's the same Greek word, Hades, but it's not about hell as we English speakers understand it, which is always negative. They could have used a lot of words, but they chose to use the word grave to encompass when they're put in the ground and they descend into the afterlife, whether paradise, Abraham's bosom, or torments, what we call hell. Believe it or not, it wasn't new with the King James translators. The Bishop's Bible translates Sheol and Hades the same way with the same words. That was something the King James translators didn't have to fix. The Bishop's Bible translators already got that right. 1 Corinthians 15:55 is a direct reference to Hosea 13:14. Quote, I will ransom them from the power of the grave. I will redeem them from death. O death, I will be thy plagues. O grave, I will be thy destruction. Grave, of course, is Sheol. And now we come to the Hebrew side. God never promised to ransom people from torments in hell, but from death itself? From the afterlife, still apart from God? Absolutely. That was their hope. Without the cross and forgiveness of sins and being granted Christ's righteousness, they could not go to heaven. So literally, without the gospel, they could not be made perfect. That's why it says in Hebrews chapter 11, verses 39 to 40, and these all, having obtained a good report through faith, received not the promise. God, having provided some better thing for us, that they without us should not be made perfect. So they stayed in the grave, the afterlife, but not in the torment of hell, until Jesus set the captive free and led captivity captive. Psalm 68:18 and Ephesians 4:8. Okay, you say. You proved how some people translated Hades as the grave in that one New Testament verse, but what about the 31 verses in the Old Testament that Sheol was translated the grave? Great question. Totally fair. So let's look at the very first time the King James translators ever translated Sheol as the grave. Turn to Genesis 37:35. And all his sons and all his daughters rose up to comfort him, but he refused to be comforted. And he said, "For I will go down into the grave unto my son mourning." Thus his father wept for him. The word for grave here is Sheol. But are there any other English translations that are willing to translate Sheol as the grave in this verse? Yes. Sheol was translated the grave in over 15 translations, including the NIV, 1984 and 2011, the New Living Translation, 1996, 2004, 2007, the New King James, and 5 Jewish Bibles, including the Complete Jewish Bible by David H. Stern, and the JPS, the Jewish Publication Society, 1917, the Rabbi Isaac Leeser Bible, 1853, over 15 translations, 5 of them Jewish, that had no problems based on context of defining Sheol as the grave. And I doubt that anyone would argue that they weren't scholars. So you see, translating Sheol and Hades by 2 words, hell and the grave, depending on context, is nothing new. We have lots of words in English that have more than one meaning depending upon how they're used. There are 31 verses where Sheol is translated grave, but there are also 31 verses where Sheol is translated hell. Other Bible versions minimize hell by leaving Sheol and Hades untranslated, with hell in the Bible only a few times, or leaving it out altogether. So, which would you rather have? A Bible that removes hell altogether and refuses to translate the Hebrew Sheol and the Greek Hades, or one that has a lot of hell in it? I want everyone to avoid hell at all costs. So I've made my choice. How about you? God bless you and have a wonderful day.